A major social media free speech battle is now before the U.S. Supreme Court. It concerns new state laws in Texas and Florida that restrict tech platforms from moderating content. So Scott Wilkens with the Knight First Amendment Institute at Columbia University joins us to talk more about this case. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, so tell us a bit more about what these laws do and what exactly is at stake in this battle.
Sure. So the laws from Florida and Texas, they're the first state laws that try to regulate how social media platforms moderate user content. So they're very important in that respect. And so the issue in these cases, the importance couldn't be overstated, is whether the platforms have a First Amendment right to moderate the content that they publish, or whether the state governments like Florida and Texas can control how the platforms moderate content, what they have to leave up, what they can take down. Those are the issues at stake. And because these days these days we communicate over social media platforms, that is the sort of digital public square, if you will. These cases have huge implications for how we all communicate with each other, and so for our democracy, for the future of the digital public sphere.
So Scott, it sounds like a lot of issues over control here. Could you go ahead and recap for us and tell us what happened in the Supreme Court on Monday?
Sure. It was a marathon session, 4 hours of argument. Everyone was just exhausted afterward. You had arguments from the platforms, then you had arguments from the states of Texas and Florida governments and the U.S. government. And the 9 justices were very engaged. They wrestled with the difficult issues in these cases. They all were very engaged, asked a lot of questions. They wrestled with what these laws mean, what their ruling could mean. They're very concerned. They're clearly very concerned about the impact that their ruling could have, which really it could last for a decade. These cases don't come up very often at the Supreme Court, and so what they do could really be monumental here, and they're concerned about that.
All right, Scott, in our last 30 seconds here, what can we expect to happen next with this case, and what could the potential impact be?
Sure. So they will decide this case by June, by the end of their term. So watch for that. It's going to be very exciting last few days when the court might announce its decision. And the potential impact could be enormous. If the court rules for Texas and Florida, then the platforms, what's on the platforms will change dramatically. You will see a lot of content that platforms currently keep down, like hate speech and other kinds of objectionable, offensive speech. And so it really may change the experience that people have on the platforms.
All right. Thank you so much, Scott. Could affect a lot of people, many of us using social media, of course. So appreciate the recap on that as well. All right. Time is now.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. 8:20.